My name is Yuri Kolonin, and today in my speech I would like to tell you about two cool cognitive architectures, the TFS or Theory of Functional Systems and the NARS or Nonexomatic Resonance System. I would like to tell you about their features, their basic principles, and some of their differences and similarities. How did we come to the idea of such article? Last year, me and Evgeny Vitaev prepared a speech for AGI 2020, the previous conference, and after it, we were contacted by Professor Pei Wang, who is the lead developer of NARS. And he proposed us to publish an extended article on TFS in the Journal of Artificial Intelligence. We discussed it with Evgeny Vitaev and my mentor, and came to a conclusion that we should prepare a paper not simply about TFS, but some research that would compare NARS and TFS directly, and this would be a much more valuable paper because there exist several reasons for it. Firstly, the comparison I think is much more interesting than another description of the architecture, and it might serve to produce some insights to AGI community about the design of architectures and the possibilities that they may bring. And secondly, such analysis and comparison might help both of architectures, both NARS and TFS, because the systems are somehow similar. Both of them are the so-called rule-based cognitive architectures, but at the same time, they have different principles at their core. And these are two entirely different systems, and both of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. And the comparison might highlight some of strengths and some of weaknesses, and bring some ideas about how the development should go, and maybe even some constructs like a hybrid architecture that takes something from NAS, something from TFS, and so on. So let's proceed to outline some architectures. First, the theory of functional systems, that is an architecture designed after the biological theory of P.K. Anokhin, the Soviet physiologist, and he developed the biological theory of functional systems in the 60s of 20th century, and the mathematical formalization and the cognitive architecture itself, the eponymous cognitive architecture, was designed by and developed by my mentor Evgeny Vitaev some 10 or 20 years ago. If you would try to describe the theory of functional systems in one or two sentences, it would sound like the TFS is the system that constantly achieves goals that are hierarchically organized by usage of rules. To say the rules in TFS have a form of the system or the agent might proceed from state 0 to state E if it performs an action A, and the success will be achieved with the probability P. The rules in TFS have such form, and the rules are the rules comprise simple functional systems, which are united by one goal state. And the simple functional systems hierarchically organize to the tree of complex functional systems, and the complex functional systems in their turn, instead of rules, they have simple functional systems or more simple functional systems. So the whole hierarchy of goals is organized and connected via functional systems. And the system, that there is one top goal, there are level 2 goals, there are level 3 goals, and so on. And level 2 goals are united by the thing that from the goal from the level 2 goal, the system might come to fulfillment of the level 1 goal with some action, and there is one functional system at the top level, there are some functional systems at the level 2, and so on. And the system constantly analyzes its past experience and via some specific algorithm, it discovers new rules that have high probability of success of achieving the goal. And such rules are constantly discovered, and their probability values are adjusted in dependence of whether the goal is achieved by such rule or not. That's it for the basic principles of TFS. The NARS in its turn is deciphered as non-axiomatic reasoning system. It is an architecture developed by Professor Pei Wang, and its history counts something like 20 or 30 years in development. The system processes some units that it names tasks. The tasks names tasks. The tasks may be of main 3 types. There are statements that describe agents' knowledge about the environment. So these are basically pieces of knowledge or something like the system's beliefs. Statements have 2-dimensional truth value. Each statement has 2-dimensional truth value. It comprises of 2 numbers. The first one is its frequency, and the second is its confidence, and there's some cool algebra behind it. The question does not have truth value, but the meaning of question is to be processed and to give some answers, and the answers have the form of statements, and they in their turn have some truth value, but the question itself is some knowledge that the system does not have at the moment. And finally, the goal is nothing more than a state the agent wants to achieve as actual. And the goal has also 2-dimensional desire value. And desire value is just a degree of desire for the system. It also has 2 numbers, and there are also some calculations behind it. Every task in NARS has some so-called budget value. It also already consists of 3 values. There is some even more interest in mathematics, but the main thing we need to note is that it has priority, and priority is basically the value of task. Why do we need value? Because we need to actually to prioritize the tasks, because on every single inference step on NARS, the system probabilistically, so randomly but with priorities, takes 2 premises for the inference. It takes 1 task and 1 belief about the environment, especially about the task sometimes. And after that, the system does some inference based on these 2 randomly, probabilistically but still randomly taken premises. when the system produces its inference, that also depends on the form of the premises. Like we have, if we have statement and statement, we get one result. If we have statement and goal, we might have some other result, some result of some other form. And when then some conclusions are derived during the inference, if the conclusions are considered valuable by the system, they also get their own budget values and they participate in the next inference step. So basically such inference model leads to produces the killing feature of NARS, that the operations in NARS are performed in almost a constant time. Every operation that comprises the NARS inference. And the main proposition of NARS model is the so-called assumption of insufficient knowledge and resources. That states that the intelligence is the system that might achieve some goals using the insufficient knowledge about the environment and some limited resources, including computational and memory resources. So all the system is built very economically, and this is a single word that can describe the NARS architecture at all. It's very efficient, very economical. So this is the picture of memory in NARS. If we proceed to compare these architectures, here on the slide you can see the goal-directed behavioral act in both systems that is described. On the left, the behavior NARS is described using the NARSys language, that is the internal language of the NARS system, and on the right you can see some pseudo-NARSys that I developed just while studying NARS to describe the inner states of TFS and some parts of its inference. If we go to exact comparison, we can see the following. So the most notable difference between TFS and NARS, in my opinion, is its attitude to randomness. So the TFS almost does not use randomness and probabilities. So it uses probabilities to estimate the probability of success for a rule, but it does not take random steps during the inference. The only moment it applies randomness is when the agent does not have any experience at all in the beginning of its life cycle. So it performs a fixed number of random steps to gain initial experience, some simple causal relationships. And after that fixed amount of steps, the algorithm becomes deterministic. It does not make any random actions at all. It does only goal-directed actions. NARS at the same time uses randomness on every single step of inference, because every single inference premise is taken randomly according to budget, so it's probabilistic but random choice. So every single step is determined, you can say, by the dice roll. And the goal choice in TFS is hierarchical, as I already said. It's the system always tries to achieve the top level goal. If there is no direct way to achieve the top level goal, the system uses the level 2 goals, and it's always every action is always on some branch of a tree. And the system constantly improves that tree by discovering new sub-goals, new rules, and so on. The NARS, in turn, does not have a top-level goal, a single top-level goal. It has it might have different goals, and it might move to fulfillment of the new goal at every single step. So this might be for some tasks, for some environments and tasks, it might be a good feature, but sometimes it might lead to lose of focus, in my opinion. Also, the strong side of TFS is the checkup of goal achievement, because after every goal-directed action in TFS, so without the initial fixed amount of random steps, it's every action of TFS. After every action, so it checks if the goal was fulfilled. So the system needs to know that did the action lead to have the action led to the result that it proposed, and depending on this, the probability estimate is adjusted, so it becomes higher or lower. And in NARS, in turn, the moment of checkup of goal achievement is strictly connected to the previous feature I mentioned, to multiple goal choice. So in NARS, it is the checkup of goal achievement is performed before the action is carried out, because when the system pursues the goal A, it might also at the same time accidentally fulfill the goal B, and maybe when the system decides to pursue goal B, there is no need to perform any action. So the system checks before the action if it is carried out, if it should be carried out, actually. And the most one of the maybe strongest sides of TFS, maybe its killing feature, is the detection of causal relationships. It is done the following way. So the system gains some history of its actions, and once in a while the system pedantically analyzes all of its history and tries to find the causal relationships, something with Fisher's exact test, which is a really strong statistical instrument for finding causal relationships. While in NARS, the same process is organized, in my opinion, not so effective, because NARS finds the causal relationships with the principle if there's action A, there's event A, and then after some time there's event B, then maybe the A is the cause of B, so we connect them with some weak inductive connection, and if we observe the same if we observe the same result more than once, then we have to do the same inductive inference another time, and then to connect these two results. And so if we already have the hypothesis about the connection of two events, it does not help the other same results much to find the actual causal relationship. So for the actual moment, in my opinion, the TFS is somehow better organized for carrying out goal-directed activity, but the real strength of NARS in face of TFS is that the NARS is really economically efficient, while the TFS has to take much computational resources. So we have some ideas how to improve NARS's logic somehow by implementing some TFS features, not much to ruin the NARS philosophy and idea, but maybe something. And we have some ideas which features of NARS might be implemented to TFS to make it more lightweight, so the TFS might perform some real tasks without computational limits hitting so hard. So this is the state of our research for the moment. We are hoping to design some real experiments in the same environment for NARS and TFS, especially if our colleagues would love to help us with the design of such experiments. We are going to make a more detailed and measurable comparison of two architectures and publish an article that would include the results of the above points. That's it. Thank you for your attention. You can connect, you can write me in Telegram or on my mail. And good luck to everyone.